Over Fear, written and illustrated by Bethany Correia, a novel based on a true story based on real events and real people. However, names and identifying details have been changed for the privacy of individuals, businesses, and some places. Chapter 1, Fear's Probing. She walked through the front door of her home on a Wednesday afternoon and locked it behind her. Grace Jensen plopped down on the couch and placed her book bag on the ground next to her feet. It was a cool mid-50-degree day, but nothing unusual for winter afternoon weather in the southern town of Arizona, Sierra Vista. Now what? She sighed. No time for sitting. She had homework to do. Grace breathed in deeply, snatched her bag up, and rummaged through the books and papers that were shoved into it as she trudged toward her bedroom. She felt the 1.5-inch thick math book, grabbed it and slid it out, and then dropped the rest near her closet. She gathered her materials and laid them on the bed, but first she had to get something to eat. Her stomach growled at her. Grace went back into the kitchen of her small trailer home, rummaged through the refrigerator, and didn't find anything. So she grabbed an orange from a bowl on the counter. After she ate it, she went to wash her hands to get the sticky juice off. It was then when she heard through the small single-pane kitchen window a man's voice. "Stay there, Rocky." What in the world? Grace wondered. Who the heck knows my dog's name? Maybe it's Judah. Judah was Grace's big brother who already hit puberty and his voice recently deepened to a mannish tone. It's too early for him to get home. She dried her hands and went back to business, math homework on the bed. She lay down on her stomach and opened her book to the page marked by a folded piece of paper. Her homework already started. She took a pencil and started working. Her mind, however, was not settled. She kept wondering when Judah was going to come in. Why didn't he come in yet? Maybe he did, and I just didn't hear him. She paused and her pencil listened a little closer without the extra noise that came from writing. No sounds. Quiet. She breathed out because she was holding her breath so she could listen better and start writing again. After writing the rest of the problem down on her lined paper, she suddenly put her pencil down, got up, and went through the whole house. Where is he? He's not in his room or anywhere else. Maybe he hasn't come in yet. She looked out the window to see if she could spot him. Nope. Just Rocky Raccoon, her big, purebred Akita dog on the chain, who was laying under the shade of a large mesquite tree, panting. She shrugged it off and thought her brother must be outside somewhere else. Just hadn't come in yet. Back again to finish a problem she started. She lay there, pencil moving. Step, step, step. Dirt and twigs rustled under what sounded like footsteps in front of her, right outside her bedroom window. Grace's pencil froze, and she held her breath for a moment. Was that real? Or was that my imagination? Who knows? Judah? Not coming in. Grace drew in a large breath, and she shook her head and continued her homework problems. It wasn't a thought, but she felt a wonder in her spirit whether she should be worried about all this. It was like fear was pounding on the door of her heart through the perceived sounds of footsteps outside her bedroom window. Step, 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 step. Again, pencil stopped. Breath slowed, quiet as could be. She listened harder. What in the world? Is this my imagination? Psyching myself out? Grace's heart started to pound, and suddenly that's all she heard, which also echoed in her mind, like the steps she heard outside her window. Was it real? She couldn't discern reality from imagination anymore. She was getting frustrated and tense, fretful, trying to sort out the compounded experiences in just that short time of being home. Ring! The sound of the telephone was amplified and startled her immensely. She jumped and thought her heart was going to leap out of her chest. Okay, Grace, just chill out. It's probably just Mom. Hello? Grace answered the phone, still a nervous wreck, though she tried to hide it when answering the phone. Grace? It was her mom's voice. She felt somewhat relieved. Yes? Just checking in on you, making sure you're home okay. Yeah, I'm home. Hey, Mom, I need to tell you something. Grace's heart started to race again. She felt her face flush and heated with red with nerves and, well, fear. When I got home today, I was at the kitchen window and I heard a man's voice say, "Stay there, Rocky." Strange thing, Rocky didn't bark, so I thought it was Judah. But he didn't come in. Then, when I was doing my homework on my bed, I thought I heard footsteps outside my window, but I'm not sure if I heard it or if it was my imagination. She had to tell her that part because she just didn't know. No, Judah's working with me today. It wasn't Judah. Anthony is with me too. Okay. I'm finishing up my work and I'll be home in about 30 minutes, okay? Just give me a call if you have to, though. Grace's mom, Joy Jensen, replied. She sounded like she was going to make haste to come home faster than she originally intended. Okay, Mom, see you in a little bit. I'll call you if I need to. Okay, Grace, I'll be home in a little bit. I love you. Grace didn't like saying those words. It felt awkward to her, but this time she felt the need to say it back, and she did. Grace hung up the phone. Making haste, Grace went around to make sure all the doors were locked and shut, all the windows and blinds to hide from anyone. If there was anyone, just in case. Heart still pounding, she thought she would feel better knowing her mom would be home soon, and that she completed the task of shutting herself inside the trailer from the view of the outside. Whatever she tried in the physical realm to ease her mind didn't work. She was unsuccessful in turning off those pushy thoughts. Those thoughts that incited within her heart and soul were of fear. She went back to math, work, and periodically repeated the pausing of the pencil and holding her breath, only to listen when she thought she heard any little thing. Grace couldn't help herself. She heard nothing certain but faint noises only when she wrote. Is that my pencil? Is he only walking when I write? Can he see me? Why would anybody be in our yard? Is someone going to hurt me or come into my house? Fear probed her mind with unrelenting, pervasive thoughts. How was Grace going to respond? Nothing she did helped. Her heart didn't slow. For all she knew, the steps might have only been in her mind. My mom will be home soon. She tried to dwell on that thought. It wasn't fun to be home alone with fear as a 12-year-old girl. She still wondered who that man's voice belonged to, the one talking to her dog by name. That was one thing she was certain she heard. Fear wasn't even an inkling at that time, so there was no reason for her to hallucinate the voice. Her thoughts grasped for answers some more. Something's up. What man knows my dog's name? Rocky didn't bark. That means my dog felt comfortable with this man. What man made friends with my dog? It's not my dad. He's in Oregon. Grace's mom and dad were separated and about to be divorced at the time. And Judah was with Mom, so it wasn't him. She searched her mind to try to see if she could think of any other man who knew Rocky. Maybe the neighbor across the road knew his name. She didn't know. They were not friends with that neighbor, or any other neighbor for that matter. Grace was able to finish up her math homework even through the flood of fearful thoughts. She knew math like she knew the back of her hand and was able to complete it thoughtlessly and effortlessly. Grace sat in a large leather chair in the living room. It was on the same wall as the only window in there. If I sit here and someone looks through the cracks of the blinds, he or they won't be able to see me around the corner. That's what Grace thought anyway. She was counting down the minutes her mom said she would be home by. It wasn't long when Joy, Judah, and Anthony walked through the door. Everything was going to be okay. Grace could breathe again, her heart slowed, and she was settled in her heart and her mind. Grace retold the story to her mom. Before the end of the conversation, Joy said she was going to pray and ask God what all this was and seek answers. Grace didn't think much of it. That night, she slept soundly and all seemed well.